Welcome back to the podcast that exists to enrich and inspire young Latinos.
Bienvenidos al podcast que existe para enriquecer e inspirar a jóvenes latinos. Bienvenidos a su podcast, La Alegría del Evangelio. Estamos aquí con Jay y Karina y tenemos un tema súper interesante. Estaremos hablando de social media. ¿Cómo están, muchachos?
Yo muy bien, ¿y tú?
Yo bien. Está nevando hoy, no estoy tan contento. Jay, ¿cómo estás?
I'm good. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us on another episode. I hope you guys are excited for this good conversation with our very special guest, Karina.
Karina, so we brought you in today to talk about, para hablar de el papel que tiene social media, los medios de comunicación social en la vida de, pues yo creo que iba a decir jóvenes, pero creo que también jóvenes y adultos en el día de hoy, ¿no? Yo creo que hace que, ¿cuántos años hace que salió MySpace?
MySpace was around when I was like in 7th grade.
2003, maybe?
That's
was like when
yeah.
MySpace started.
Fue la primera experiencia, ¿verdad? De tener amigos, ponías tu canción y después salió Facebook, ¿cómo en qué año?
Facebook creo que fue en el 2004, but just on college campuses and then it spread.
Sí. Y después de Facebook vino, ¿qué? Twitter. Instagram. Snapchat. Eso quiere decir que la gente que creció antes de los 2000, pues creció sin preocuparse para tomarse fotos, ¿verdad? Para su Instagram o su Facebook o echar chisme. So definitivamente podemos decir que los últimos 20 años social media ha tenido un gran impacto en cómo nos comunicamos, cómo nos entendemos con las personas, ¿no? Conoces a alguien y, agrégame en Instagram, agrégame en Facebook. Pero ¿cuáles son uno de estos efectos que ustedes creen, Jay y Karina, que ha tenido la presencia de esta nueva manera de comunicarnos, de entendernos y también de publicar sobre nuestra vida, ¿no? Porque antes, si me recuerdo, en México, si querías que alguien mirara tus fotos, los invitabas a tu casa, les enseñabas el álbum familiar, ¿no?
Yeah.
Y se sentaban en la casa y todos miraban las fotos. Hoy no. Hoy si quieres, tomas una foto al plato y vámonos. Todo el mundo lo puede ver. So, ¿cuáles son estos efectos que ha tenido Facebook, Instagram en la vida de los que están ahí conectados?
There's so many. I think one that stands out to me and that I saw a lot like when I was in high school, was that people were no longer good at talking in person.
Mm-hmm.
Like people in high school. There was some that I was friends with on Facebook and they seemed so interesting, right? Like they had all this cool stuff that they did and all these cool interests and these hobbies, and they had an amazing life on Facebook. And then you would see them in school and they would never talk. And I never heard the person's voice through like the 4 years of high school, and it was just so weird to me. And that still continues now. You still see that, where there's people that on social media seem like an entirely different person, and then in person they just like are so quiet and they're so shy. And I get that, and I think in a way maybe it's good, but maybe it's bad. It's good because it gives people that are quiet a space where they feel like they can share a little bit about themselves. But then it also kind of doesn't help them to advance socially with their social skills. And they just kind of are left with the social skills of a child at, 20, 25 years old. And I think it's a very interesting thing because it also doesn't happen to a lot of people. But I think that's just like one of many, many, many things. Another one that comes to mind is the need to feel accepted by your peers. And I think that's at any age, whether you're in high school or you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s or 40s. You always want to feel like you've done well for yourself and you feel successful. So you want to upload, in high school, you got those new shoes and you made the basketball team, or you have a bunch of friends. You want to upload that to Facebook or Instagram. And then you're in your 20s and you want to upload that you got that job, or you're in your 30s and you want to upload that now you're married and you're in your 40s and
you got that girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always something that you want to show off, so that people can validate you, and then you can feel accomplished. And that's also, I think that's dangerous, because then it becomes I need those people to like me to feel good about myself, and not just living your life and feeling good because you're accomplishing things and doing well for yourself.
I definitely agree. I feel like social media has allowed a lot of us, especially people my age, just because when I was 13, 14, it was like the hype of MySpace, the beginning of when Facebook was becoming really popular between like my peers and I. It allows us to kind of create like an alter ego, you know, like I could be very boring in person, but my life could be really amazing. I could look awesome. I could edit all of my pictures. I could portray my life to look a certain way and give an aesthetic. And we're seeing that people aren't really who they seem. And that could be like un arma de doble filo, you know, like you could be like something very low key and it gives you that tool to show who you are, but it also gives you that tool to like hide behind something. And it really makes you question, like, what are you doing social media for? Just because there is so much going on in social media with any aspect, and you could use it for so much good, but you could also use it for so much bad. And I feel like, como estaba diciendo Jay, I think you hinted it with like, we're entering an age of like comparison. You know, like I'm seeing people like graduating, they're getting jobs, they're getting married, they're in relationships, they're buying this, they're buying that. And you're kind of saying that, like, why am I not doing that? We're at the same age. How are we not at that same point in life? And what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with you that I have more than you or you have more than me? And I feel like that's why many of us struggle with self-image, with self-confidence, and just believing in ourselves in general. And I feel like it's a good thing and a bad thing. And it's just finding that balance between what we're showing and what we're doing, and just also kind of seeing like we have to set a limit for ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking as you, Jay, and Karina were talking about, like I grew up without social media. Like I feel for jóvenes now that the way they feel about themselves is due to how many likes they got, is due to how many followers they have. So the pressure of seeking acceptance, right? Like if I post a picture that doesn't get likes, that means that part of my life is not liked by the people. Like, what do I have to post in order to get likes? And as an adult, I can make, or I at least have tools to make better decisions, right? But jóvenes, ¿verdad? Que están buscando de una manera natural la aceptación, amigos que han crecido en el boom de Instagram y sienten que es quizás más importante tener seguidores en Instagram que tener buenos grados, ¿no? Cuando quizás los que crecimos en los 90, ser bueno en un deporte era importante, tener buenos grados era importante. O sea, buscabas aceptación en cosas que hacías, ¿verdad? Y siento que Instagram, por ejemplo, para mencionar un caso, no es tan importante lo que haces, tus grados, tu esfuerzo, el deporte que practicas. Es más importante lo que pareces, o la imagen, o lo que pareces, o lo que proyectas es más importante que lo que eres. Y yo creo que para la nueva generación de chavos, ¿no? Karina, estás más joven, tú quizás, pues, en tu adolescencia quizás viviste parte de esto, ¿no? I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Y yo sí siento que es una presión muy, muy, muy grande sobre los jóvenes de hoy, decir, chin, o sea, tengo que hacer esto y poner este tipo de fotografías para ser popular, para que me acepten, donde no se trata tanto de hacer o de ser, sino que puedes, es algo muy superficial, ¿no? Porque se trata de parecer. No importa que no seas, ¿no? Ve a Lauro 8 y tómate una foto con 3, 4 carros y con que parezca que sean tuyos, está perfecto, ¿no? Entonces la gente que no tiene carro, o los viajes, es otra cosa que yo también me doy cuenta de que la gran mayoría de las personas no tienen posibilidad de viajar, ¿no? Y cuando ven que una persona se la pasa viajando o pareciera que viaja mucho, pues yo pienso que sí puede afectar de una manera negativa. No sé, como me gustaría escuchar un poquito su perspectiva en esto de quizás hoy lo más importante no es ser, sino parecer. Y como decías tú, Jay, creo que eso puede ser peligroso, ¿no? Porque nos podemos convertir aún más en una sociedad mucho más superficial, ¿verdad? Donde solamente miramos lo externo, más miramos el envase, pero no miramos el contenido. O sea, quizá pudiera decir que estamos en un momento donde el envase, lo que se mira, es más importante que lo que hay dentro.
Well, I feel like at the beginning of my journey on social media, I did really care about like how many likes I got on a picture, who was following me, how many friends I have, and I'm just kind of like, I guess just it's an age thing, because when I was 13, having a bunch of friends on Facebook was super important, and just having the most popular people como amigos on Facebook and just having them like a picture was just like, it made my day. And just like thinking back like 10 years ago, I was 13, and just thinking like that was the most important thing in my life. And now I'm kind of looking back and saying like, ¿qué estoy pareciendo? ¿Qué estoy aparentando? And just saying like, my self-worth and who I am as a person isn't measured by how many people are following me, by how many people are liking my pictures, how many friends I have on Facebook. Just because I feel like it's a maturity thing también, because social media is very appealing para jóvenes. I spent a lot of time working como jóvenes because with jóvenes because I was a coordinator at my parish, and just seeing how like the things that they did and they were doing and saying just to have friends on Snapchat and all of that. I'm just like it's very appealing to them. And I feel like a lot of our feelings of self-worth are connected to that.
I hear you. Jay?
Yeah, I feel like it goes back to relationships in the end.
Mm-hmm.
If you have good friends growing up, that kind of validation you get from them in person, right? And they're the ones that really know you well and that see what you're doing in life. And so a lot of people, I think, like you hit it on the head, Karina, it happens at a young age because we're trying to make friends, and we feel like if we're the most followed on Instagram or have the most friends on Facebook or Snapchat, then people will see that and want to be our friend in person, right? Not just on the internet. And like I'll use myself as an example, right? In high school, I had Facebook and Snapchat, and those were the only two I ever really had. And I remember like being mad because like I wasn't getting likes on Facebook, but it was just something that bothered me, right? And then eventually you hit an age where like right after high school, it just didn't matter anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew who my friends were. And then I think becoming a part of Iskali also helped, right? I knew that people cared about me and that it didn't matter what I was posting on Facebook. People saw what I did in person, right? They saw me and they were standing with me next to me, literally, while I was doing the things that other people pretend to do and then share on Facebook, right? And then kind of in a weird way, I like left social media for a while and went back now as an adult and not seeking validation anymore, and kind of just to share what I was doing with my life. And then it was like then when I would post a picture, now I got all these likes, and I was like, well, I don't care anymore. Like, why am I getting it now?
Jay, you're popular now.
Yeah, it's like now people want to like my picture on Facebook when I don't care anymore. But yeah, I think it definitely has to do with an age thing. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that a friendship on Facebook is worth nothing compared to a friendship in person. And sadly, though, that's something that even a lot of people older struggle with, right? And I feel like we were blessed growing up in Iskali because we got to have real friendships. I have lots of friends, guys and girls that I consider family. And because of that, I don't need to be on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff. I don't care about being validated there because my friends validate me in person, and that's more than enough.
Yeah. Sorry, Karina. I was just thinking about what you said. I remember a conversation I had with a priest once. I remember we were talking about Facebook, and he asked me, "Oye, ¿cuántos amigos tienes?" So I thought he was talking about Facebook, right? And I remember I told him I don't have
1,003.
Facebook anymore, but back then I was like 1,000 or something like that. And he said, "No, en tu vida," and I was just like, "Ooh." Language matters, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the fact that in Facebook it says add as a friend, like friendship becomes nothing, right? It becomes a click. And we know that friendship is not a click. It's not something you click on and we're already friends. But just the fact that you can speak about they are my friends on Facebook, that's like another level of friendship. And friendship is so profound, and it requires to open your heart, it requires to listen, it requires time. It's probably the most important thing that we can build in our lifetime, friendship.
Mhm.
But when friendship becomes a click, then what if the only friendships you have is based on the clicks? You, Jay, and Karina talk about the experience of having Iskali in your life, or you can meet people in communities and have profound and intentional conversations. But what if you're not connected to a community? What if you're just alone and all the friends that you have are the ones that you get on clicks, right? Um, it's hard to imagine um, my own life without Iskali, just because my friendships that are here too. But I'm just thinking about everybody, jóvenes that might be disconnected, that might struggle looking for friends, right? Like now you can meet people through social media, and you no longer may have friends that you can talk about your life in a profound way. So friendship is also being shaped by what is a friend, right? Like, and I think in Instagram is followers, right? You have followers, and Facebook you have friends, and the Snapchat what you is friends.
Friends,
That
yeah.
means friends.
So like friendship is kind of is being shaped by this, and having a friend is hard. It's like so hard to be a friend and have a friend, to receive friendship and give friendship is a commitment. But it seems that social media makes it so easy. You can just click accept, or you reject an invitation to be a friend. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like it is kind of like a click of a button a lot of times, but I also feel like, I don't know, in my experience with Iskali, before Iskali, most of the people I had on Facebook were just people I kind of went to high school with, I went to school with, I knew of them, but we never crossed paths. But I feel as I went into Iskali and I got more and more involved, I started getting rid of a lot of the people who had nothing to do with my life, and just adding the people who I went to retreats with, who I served with, who I met, people that said, hey, I'm really interested in joining and I want to connect with you. How can I connect? And I'm like, oh, just add me on Facebook, add me on Snapchat. Like, it's a very quick, easy way because we're always on our phones anyway. Might as well put them to use. And I don't want to bash social media, because social media has really allowed me to kind of connect to people in ways that I would have never thought of connecting. To the point where now, like, I haven't used Facebook in a while, but if I go through my friends list, they're either all of my family or a bunch of people from Iskali, and like a few miscellaneous ones, and like, like Jay and I have known each other for a long time, and you're right, friendship takes a long time. And just like using me and Jay as an example, like together we've had our experiences together where like it's made us very close. Like he's always been there for me, and we've been there. I was huge friends with his sister, and just like social media, for example, has allowed me to stay connected to his sister Anna. And just, even though she's in Mexico, I'm seeing her daughter grow up. I'm seeing her like progress, like from a young woman who was my friend to now like a mother. And just seeing other people in Iskali flourish, and seeing people graduate, getting jobs, getting together, also traveling and just expanding their horizons, like, has been such a beautiful thing. And I feel like for jóvenes who are searching for something, like, it all depends on what's coming on your feed. and who you're adding and what you're liking. Because if I'm liking stuff that I'm trying to make myself better, that's going to come up on my timeline. And if I'm adding people who are bettering themselves, what they're sharing is also going to come up on my timeline, because there have been many times where someone shares something and I'm like, oh, I really needed to hear this or see this. Like if it wasn't in front of me and I scrolled through it, I would have never seen it, and vice versa. And I think that it really depends on who you try to expose yourself to and what you kind of block off, and just acknowledging who you want to become and searching that, because you can search up Jesus and you're going to come up with a bunch of stuff. And I think Iskali, like social media has played a huge role in its growth. Something that made me, it was like I craved Iskali because of social media. At the beginning, it was a very, very small, or it was, I wouldn't even call it an organization when I joined, but many of my friends had joined Iskali at that point, and I saw what they were posting, and I saw that they were having fun, and I saw this, and I saw their group trips. That, se me antojó eso, ese sentido de comunidad, de tener amigos verdaderos, que teníamos una misión común, if that makes sense, where I wanted to do something with my life, and I saw that the people there also wanted to do something with my life, and I wanted to surround myself with that. Yo quería estar rodeada de personas que tenían la misma mentalidad que yo.
Yeah. I like what you're saying, Karina, because now you're presenting social media also as an opportunity to connect with people that can help us be better, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the danger of being superficial, of having fake friendships or not real friendships. But it's interesting that you say, social media can also be good, because through social media, you can receive a good message, a good quote. I can be inspired by what other people are doing in their lives, right? That's what I'm listening. So, social media it's not bad, it's neutral. It depends about who you follow and what you allow your feed to show you, ¿verdad? Depende lo que busques, quiénes son tus amigos que sigues y qué páginas sigues también, ¿verdad? Es el contenido que te va a aparecer y it's going to shape you in a way. ¿Qué piensas de eso, Jay?
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Karina. And I think that something that's important in what you said is that, you didn't make those friends on Facebook and then met them in person. It was the other way around. You knew them and then you added them on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and everything, if you already have the relationships, then it's great. And then there's also the occasion where you build a relationship out of meeting somebody on Facebook and you actually become real friends, and that's great too. But yeah, I think it all depends on how you filter it, right? Mm-hmm. You can find whatever you're looking for, whatever that is. It could be the most random little, you could be looking to join a biker gang and you'll find it on Facebook, a group of biker gang members, whatever, and whatever you're looking for, you'll find. So I think that's where maybe younger kids struggle, because they don't know themselves well enough yet to know what it is they're looking for. And once you're a little older and you start to learn more of who you are and what your interests are, then maybe that's when you're able to filter out, okay, this doesn't matter to me. I don't want to see this. I want to see this and that. And these people from high school I haven't talked to in 10 years. Bye, and I'm going to add people that I actually know, or maybe a celebrity that I look up to, or the Pope, right? You want to hear what's going on in the church, things like that. As an example for me, last I was on Facebook was a year and a half ago, but I discovered, Father Mike on Facebook and Father Josh and all these people who have their own shows, and that I've learned a lot about my faith through them, through their own podcasts, through their YouTube videos. And if they didn't have a Facebook page, that wouldn't have happened. And I wouldn't have been exposed to a priest in another part of the country, or a group of guys who have a podcast in another part of the country, or in another country, right? Even what we're doing here now, right? The Iskali podcast, we promote it on social media. And, there's people in other countries listening to us. And if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't happen. But I think it's also because those people know what they're looking for. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're just going to come across any and everything, and you're just going to believe any and everything.
Se me ocurre una invitación, ¿no? Como todos estamos llamados a hacer un examen de conciencia.
Hacer una limpieza.
Un examen de conciencia.
Yeah.
Quizás pudiéramos invitar a las personas que nos están escuchando también a hacer un examen de su feed. No sé cómo se dijera en español, de su pader de publicación o lo que sea. Bueno, decir, de lo que me salen mis publicaciones, ¿qué quiero seguir viendo? ¿Qué debo de dejar de ver? ¿Y qué me gustaría ver en mi feed que no estoy viendo, verdad? Y yo creo que otra cosa bueno, yo creo que eso es importante, ¿verdad? Pues a todas las personas que nos escuchan, pues los invitamos a hacer un examen de su feed.
Spring cleaning.
Yep.
Sí, hacer un poquito de discernimiento. ¿Qué es lo que ves? ¿Qué es lo que sigues? Otra cosa que se me viene a la mente es que en un examen que salió en el final del 2019, it sounds crazy, but decía que los jóvenes adolescentes pasan un aproximado de 8 horas y 52 minutos al día outside of school work, enfrente de una pantalla, ¿no? So, si están 8 horas en la escuela, más 8 son 16 delante de una pantalla. Es impresionante, ¿no? Yo jugaba 2 horas, 2 horas canicas, 3 horas al trompo, 1 hora en bicicleta, después me iba a jugar voleibol. Entonces, estaba haciendo actividades en persona. Entonces, just the idea that young people, especially teenagers, when you have the most energy, have access to everything, to the world, through their screens, and that they spend 8 hours a day, ¿verdad? Que pasan hasta 8 horas y 52 minutos al día y que con sus papás a veces pasan 2, 3 minutos, no hablan con ellos, no tienen buena comunicación. También eso me parece que es algo a lo que debemos poner atención porque podemos terminar con jóvenes que son mantenidos por sus papás, pero no fueron educados por sus papás porque la educación, los valores que tienen, las ideas que tienen, the role models they have, la verdad, sus héroes, no son las personas que pagan su techo, sino son las personas que siguen y consumen el contenido de ellos en social media, ¿no? So, yo creo que también es importante poner atención al tiempo, ¿verdad? Que se pone. I'm guilty of it, yo soy culpable de esto. Yo creo que hay veces que me levanto en la mañana y me doy cuenta que estoy respirando y la próxima otra cosa que busco es, ¿dónde está mi teléfono? ¿Dónde está mi teléfono? ¿No? Para casi como con hambre, como si trajera hambre, ¿no? Entonces yo digo, oye, no lo necesito, no, you know. Es como hemos creado una dependencia tan grande de estar en el teléfono y lo veo en mi casa, ¿no? Puedes estar comiendo en la cocina y si nadie está teniendo una conversación, lo más fácil que se puede hacer es estar en tu teléfono. O también me ha tocado en eventos sociales, ¿verdad? Donde puedes conocer a personas de networking. En vez de hablar con alguien, you feel awkward, te sientes así como a disgusto.
Incómodo.
Y en vez de ir a buscar una conversación, te vas a tu teléfono y perdiste la oportunidad de conocer a alguien, ¿no? Porque me engancho, me meto en mi conchita y ya no hablo, ¿no? Entonces yo creo que también son cosas a poner atención. El tiempo que le damos al teléfono. Imagínate, si estás 8 horas en tu teléfono, puedes tener 8 cafés de 1 hora con amigos y conversar y conocer personas. Porque no vas a conocer personas a profundidad por social media, en la gran mayoría de los casos. Entonces yo creo que también pudiéramos usar el tiempo de una manera diferente, ¿no? No sé qué piensan de eso.
I started doing, if you have an iPhone, si tienen un iPhone, hay un ajuste que puedes hacer donde puedes calcular cada semana, like te calcula lo que usas tu teléfono, depende, puede ser simplemente una alarma, el teléfono, whatever. So I started calculating how much time I spend every time, and I just got my weekly report yesterday, and it was about like 8 hours. So I am guilty of that. And and I'm
es
thinking,
un montón de tiempo.
I
¿Puedes
know,
sacar una maestría con eso?
and I'm like thinking about, and like I don't realize how much time I spend like on TikTok, por ejemplo, because se me hace bien fácil, and se me pasan como en 5 minutos, and I don't realize que ya pasó 1 hora y media, and I could be doing something, be like, all right, I'm going to take a break. Like, por ejemplo, like if I'm lesson planning, I'm a teacher. I'll be like, all right, I've been working for half an hour. I deserve a 5-minute break. And then 5 minutes turns into half an hour. And then I'm like, all right, a las 7 empiezo. And then I look and it's 7:05 and I'm like, whoops, hasta las 7:30 empiezo otra vez. And it's just kind of like it's not, es cuando te pega como una cachetada que estás diciendo, like, ¿qué estoy haciendo tanto rato? And you're right, like, I haven't read a book in such a long time. And I totally, no le echo la culpa a las redes sociales, me echo la culpa a mí. Porque yo soy la que tiene que, like, ponerme esos pantalones and be like, no, I'm going to put my phone down and, like, read a 5-page book if it's on me, you know? And I am guilty of that, and it makes me very embarrassed. But
it's entertainment on demand.
Yeah.
In your fingertips.
Yeah, I think, I was telling you, Vicente, right before we started recording, how I'm doing Exodus, and it's really hard for me to stay home on my day off. Because with Exodus, I'm not supposed to be on my phone. I can't watch TV. I can't play video games. And I'm not supposed to be on the computer unless it's to do work. So if I'm home, I can't do anything other than, like, read a book or, like, clean the house. And
because it's a total cleanse, right?
Yeah. And it's like I'll clean in the morning. I'll do, like, today I cleaned. I did laundry. And then I read the readings that we needed to read that for the book we're reading in, like, 30 minutes. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, what do I do now? And I'm just sitting on the couch, like, now what, you know? And it's like, I had my free time. And since we started Exodus, my screen time on my phone has gone down from probably like 7 to 8 hours to like 3. And that's still a lot. I'm probably doing more than I should be even with like the 3. But then I just find my time like so like, I'm just like, what do I do when I'm home? So what I try to do is to go out and, you know, I try to hang out with friends. That was also something I told myself I would do during Lent, was to hang out with people I hadn't hung out with in a while, have conversations, meet new people, all that kind of stuff. So, and I have been doing that. Probably be doing it a little more, but I'm glad that I've been able to do that at least somewhat. And yeah, I think there's just so much wasted time that we spend on the phone, on the TV, on the computer, video games, whatever it is. And there's, like you were saying to Karina, you know, you could get a PhD in all the time that you spend on your phone.
We could.
There's so much good that we could do, so many people we could meet, and even how much better we could get to know our own families, right? Like, I've seen at friends' houses and even in my house and with my family where my dad and I are literally sitting next to each other and we're both on our phones and we won't talk for like 2 hours. And like 2 hours go by and he's on his phone and I was on my phone the whole time and we said nothing to each other. And then it's like that every day for a couple of days. And then before I know it, it's like Friday and I've sat next to him like a couple of days throughout the week, but I haven't actually talked to him all week. And now I feel like I haven't seen him all week. And it's just because we're too busy wasting our life away staring at a little screen. And it's almost like you're too busy watching other people live their lives and then you don't live yours.
Yeah. It's so sad, right? Like, I'm just thinking, there's so many, like, we're going to die, right? Like, we have
eventually, yeah.
We have limited time here. Like, tenemos tiempo limitado en esta vida. And there is so much we can do, you know, I mean, the possibilities are unlimited. Sports, people to meet, activities to do, walking, running, swimming, soccer. Like, there is so much to do. Yet, we give our phones. Like, si en lo que gastamos el tiempo define nuestras prioridades, right? Entonces, nuestra prioridad es gastar el tiempo en el teléfono. Entonces, that's, in many cases, the priority number 1 for many people. Entonces, si en lo que gastas tu tiempo es un ejemplo de tus prioridades y en lo que más gastas tu tiempo es en tu teléfono, entonces, la prioridad en tu vida es tu teléfono. And if that's okay with you, it's okay with you. Yeah. But if it's not okay with you, si no es lo que tú crees que quieres ser en tu vida, ¿verdad? Que tu teléfono sea tu prioridad, entonces tenemos que hacer cambios, ¿verdad? Tenemos que pensar en hacer cambios porque no creo que lo más saludable, humildemente, que lo más saludable para nosotros sea darle 8 horas de nuestra vida a nuestro teléfono cada día, ¿no?
Definitely.
No, no sé. Karina, ¿qué piensas? ¿Dormimos menos de lo que estamos
I definitely do feel those days where like el teléfono es lo primero que busco al principio del día y lo último que suelto al final. And just like kind of thinking about like I'm like thinking about it, and it wasn't until like a global pandemic that I was able to sit down and have conversations con mis papás about like anything de la familia, nuestras experiencias, nuestras perspectivas en cosas. It wasn't until we were forced to spend 24/7 together that like I got to know my parents on like a deeper personal level besides like mis papás regañones, you know, and just getting to know my sister and like who she's grown to be.
Van a escuchar esto, ¿eh?
That's okay. Y te van a poder platicar de like nos agarramos en discusiones like heated arguments about anything and everything in our own perspectives, and just seeing like even though we grew up together, like my sister and I have different perspectives on things, or we like teamed up against my parents, and just like we would have never had those conversations if life would have continued to be normal and I would have been like super fast paced. My sister would have been living her life, my dad, and just kind of thinking about like we really have to invest time in ourselves and bettering ourselves, because if we're just sitting on our phones for 2 hours, like we're not doing anything. And I am very guilty of that, and I'm just kind of thinking about like what role social media has been playing. And I could say, yeah, like I gave up Facebook and Instagram for Lent, but I still have Snapchat and TikTok because I just said like I don't really use those apps, but now they became the two things I use the most. And just like challenging myself, así yo misma hacer ese examen de conciencia and just kind of set a limit to myself, because our phones also do that. We could set a limit to that, and I've just haven't. We tenemos muchos recursos en nuestras manos y no las usamos, and just thinking about like, all right, Karina, I think it's time to pick up a book. I think it's time to listen to something that is going to better yourself. Y hacer ese examen de conciencia, like yo en mi personal.
It's time to pick up a book, not to put your phone on. Because I haven't used books to put my phone on so I can watch something, but to read it. And now that you mentioned the pandemic, Karina, I want to finish up with just maybe your point of view on the pandemic. Porque una de las cosas que yo creo que la pandemia ha hecho es, nos ha enseñado a que los medios de comunicación social pueden ser buenos, ¿verdad? Para que hagamos cosas buenas, ir a misa, ¿verdad? Por mucho tiempo no podíamos ir a misa, miramos, a prédicas, videos motivacionales, inspiradores. Pero otra cosa que sin llegar a duda ha sucedido en la pandemia es que nos hemos aislado más. Yo lo he notado en mi propia vida, ¿no? Ahora que ya no podemos empezar a reunir con los amigos, a veces hay una reunión de amigos.
Da flojera.
Y digo, pero puedo mirar Netflix solo.
Nadie me molesta.
Y no me tengo que cambiar, ando bien cómodo. Si voy, me tengo que bañar, rasurarme. Entonces, sin llegar a duda, la pandemia no ha aislado quizás más, pero ha acelerado el proceso de aislamiento. Uh-huh. Y al hablar pues nosotros aquí trabajamos con jóvenes, ¿no? Yo creo que somos una de las generaciones la generación que más posibilidades tenemos para comunicarnos, literalmente. Podemos hablar como por 10 aplicaciones. Uh-huh. Video, texto, imágenes, name it. Nos podemos comunicar con quien sea en cualquier parte del mundo, pero estamos más aislados que nunca. Si nosotros no, la gran mayoría de jóvenes tienen la capacidad de comunicarse como nunca y están más aislados que nunca. Y sí siento que es algo que tenemos que cambiar. Thoughts on that?
I don't know. I feel like before March of 2020, I don't think we would have ever imagined that we would be sitting in our living rooms watching Mass through Facebook Live and going to Holy Hour through Facebook Live, y mucho menos hacer una consagración on a Zoom call. You know, like we did that a year ago. And just, we got so used to just saying, all right, la misa es a las 10:30, me levanto a las 10:29 y ya, lista. No me tengo que peinar, no me tengo que cambiar en la pijama, con la cobija. Y a gusto. And I feel like I've also, I am one of those people who got very lazy about going out and just saying, prefiero quedarme en casa because, ¿pa' qué salgo? Like I'm able to see what you guys are doing online, and I see you guys are doing awesome, and I'm rooting for you from afar, and just like, yeah, you're doing great, sweetie. I'm just kind of thinking about like how it allows us to connect in very different ways, but like I totally agree que nos estamos aislando de una manera muy acelerada.
No saludable.
Y no saludable, because I am one person that like finds peace in being alone, but now like the alone that I want, like it's very different now. Before I was just like I could literally just sit somewhere in like in a quiet church and just relax. But now like alone time for myself where I'm just focusing on myself has become very different. And I think we've defined isolation in a way that we've never had to define it before. And I guess like it's just a means of what you want to do. Like I don't even know if there's a solution for it, but it's not an easy one. I don't know, Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I like what you said about isolation. I think it changed what it meant when it was forced upon us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't anymore like, oh, well, I can go out, but I just want to stay home tonight. And I'll go out tomorrow. Now it was, I have to stay home today and tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And it was just like,
so who knows what?
Yeah. And we were like, I have to stay home till May. And then May came and it was till, it's like almost a year later. And now that things are finally starting to kind of open up and people are starting to meet again. Yeah, I see that I feel like there was the group of people that never really stopped hanging out with their friends. And I might have been a little guilty of that. Right?
Yeah.
But I think partially because I hung out with like the few friends that I hung out with really consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're really, 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 really close because I saw the same group of like 5-6 friends the last year, like on a weekly basis. And then there's other people that I know like haven't left their house other than to like go to work or if they had to go run a specific errand. And I feel like they almost feel forgotten. And it makes me sad that people feel forgotten, but also it makes me sad that people feel forgotten and don't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. So like, I've had it happen where people say that they leave the community and like, oh, well, everybody forgot about me. And we're like, no, we haven't. You just come back. Like, you're always welcome, right?
Or you forgot about us.
Yeah, exactly. You can always come back. And I think that this past year has been that where everybody kind of left. And now it's where you decide whether or not you're going to come back. And life is different now, and it always will be, right? There's no going back to how things were. And honestly, we shouldn't want to go back to how things were. Just try to make it better. But now you have a choice. Do you want to stay in your house, eating Cheetos, drinking Mountain Dew, playing Xbox, and talking crap about people on Facebook or whatever? Or do you want to go out and live life? Now you have a choice. And, using Mass is a great example, right? I've talked to Father Bobby about it, how, at St. Leonard, we only have 4 Masses on Sundays and the capacity is 90 people. And at first they were selling out, right? Quote unquote, selling out. And as the months have passed by, they don't sell out as much. And people seem to have really wanted to go back at first because they couldn't and it was taken away from them. And now it's just like, oh, I have to register and I have to go online or I have to call. I don't want to do all that. And then I have to get ready. I'll just watch the live stream, right? And that's dangerous because now you cut off your social life, your friends, family, and you're cutting off a relationship with God. And I mean, you can pray at home all you want, and that's great, and you should do it. But if you're not going to Mass, you're not getting the Eucharist, you're not getting the sacraments, then you're slowly cutting yourself away. And that's so dangerous because, we're so blessed with this gift of the Mass and the family fraternity that we get when we go to Mass. Like we've all experienced how nice it is to talk to people after Mass that you see every Sunday, right? Yeah, right. You go get un elote después de misa y unos nachos, yeah. And
Te crecieron los cachetes.
And to have that taken away is sad. But I feel like now's the time to decide if you're gonna do something or if you're not gonna do something. And hopefully God finds some way to fix that, right? Not just whether or not you're gonna start hanging out with friends and stop wasting so much time on your phone. But hopefully he finds a way to fix the people that have left and help them to come back. And I think that's the challenge that's going to come in the next year, right? Is whether or not we can get people to come back out of their houses to do everything, right? Not just one thing or the other.
Sí. Pues gracias, Jay y Karina, por unirse a la conversación. Yo creo que dejamos a nuestra audiencia con varias invitaciones, ¿no? Desde hacer un examen de conciencia sobre qué aparece en su social media, cómo usan su social media, de alejarse de solamente parecer y tener algo superficial, sino en verdad usar el social media para algo positivo, para inspirar, para hacer algo bueno, ¿no? Tener un impacto positivo. También les dejamos la invitación de no usar su social media tanto y explorar otras maneras de entretenimiento saludables, incluso caminar, correr, algo saludable, ¿no? Hacer algún deporte. También los dejamos con la invitación de no aislarse tanto, de no, tus amigos no se olvidaron de ti. Tú te olvidaste de tus amigos, ¿no? De siempre ser las personas que tomamos responsabilidad y no ser las personas que buscamos culpables, que no somos nosotros, ¿no? Ser las personas que decimos, no se olvidaron de mí, yo no les he hablado, no les he contestado, no los he buscado, ¿no? Y ojalá y esta conversación les haya ayudado a reflexionar un poco sobre cómo y cuánto tiempo usan su teléfono, para qué, y también una invitación a conectarse con sus amigos, a ponerle atención a sus amistades, y yo creo que nada puede suplir una conversación cara a cara, donde ves a la persona, ves sus expresiones, ni Zoom, ni nada, ¿verdad? Así que los dejamos con esa invitación. Karina, Jay, muchas gracias por estar en esta conversación con nosotros este día.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you soon.
Si esta conversación te ayudó, compártela con alguien. Y ya que hablamos de social media, ve y síguenos en Facebook y en Instagram. Así te vas a poder dar la oportunidad de tener un social media más saludable. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. No olviden seguirnos en Instagram y en Facebook en Iskali Podcast.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Iskali Podcast.
Listen with us and experience the joy of the gospel.
Escúchanos y experimenta la alegría del Evangelio. Te esperamos.
Dare to dream.
Atrévete a soñar.